Hey, g'day mate. Thanks for tuning in. I want to share with you the idea today that entrepreneurs in enterprise, in small business, and even solo entrepreneurs can lead not only in their own business or their local community, but can be part of leadership for global marketplaces. Now, I want to have a good time, a bit of fun in our next little while together. And I'm hoping that you're going to help me out, because I'm crapping. This is TED. And this is the first time in Australia. This is history. And we're part of it. And it's come onto our shores, and we now own it. And TED, thank you very much. But if you didn't realise, you need to look into Australia's history, because when we find something and it's good, we bloody well keep it. So 3 cheers for Aussies. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. All right, excellent. Thank you. You've helped me just put my heart back into its rightful place. So let's get on to it. I want to talk to you about the notion of misrepresentation of entrepreneurs. And when we understand the spirit and the wisdom and the opportunities that entrepreneurs create for how we live our life and the experiences that we have in our life, we need to understand that we're not normal. Have you noticed that? We are not the average Joe. In fact, we're very often on the peripheral. Would you agree? And so concepts like this Chinese proverb, teach a man to fish and you feed him for a day. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man a fish, you feed him for a lifetime, was not developed with the entrepreneurial spirit in mind. Because when you give an entrepreneur a fish, they go all out. They develop multiple billion-dollar industries, right? We expand on the original idea. We diversify, we look for opportunities, and we collaborate for maximum leverage. You see, entrepreneurs shape the way we live. They shape, you shape, the experiences that we have in life. Let's look back at how that translates to entrepreneurs in history and where we've gotten to today, and how we can use what we know going forward with 2020 vision into the future, in particular into the new structure that we live and operate in, this new economy. The entrepreneur did more and realised there was more to be done than just simply catching the fish and feeding your family. We looked at, what if we caught more fish than we actually needed for ourselves? And in order to leverage other people's skills and time that we didn't have, the entrepreneur traded the fish for the seeds that he or she didn't have time to grow. And so the entrepreneur took the concept of simply providing enough for ourselves and turned it into a way for us to leverage on a greater scale beyond what we were capable of doing for ourselves. And the entrepreneur then started to collaborate. And so we joined forces with other entrepreneurs and we said, what about if we could fish as a group? And we could harvest enough perhaps to feed a village. And so the spirit of the entrepreneur began to turn what was a singular action of going and providing food for a family into a commercial viable proposition. We then, as entrepreneurs, said, what about if I set up a place where you could come and access my excess catch and I could trade for currency my catch? And so suddenly trading began. And I was able to then use my currency to trade for other goods and services, again, leveraging. So collaboration and leveraging are spiritual ideas that have come from the spirited entrepreneur. And then entrepreneurs started to gather together all of their different catches, and you and I were able to come to one place and have variety of choice. And so marketplaces were born. And then the entrepreneur in the corporate environment said, what about if we did this on a mass scale? What about if we harvested through aquaculture? So we were able then to provide food on a mass scale. And the entrepreneurs in the corporates and in government, in the old economy, were the people that were able to forge the future, the life that we have today. But things have changed dramatically, and it doesn't require the spirit in the corporate entrepreneur alone anymore. And then, of course, in the industrial age, we got into technology advances, ways to process food or process our fishes, make them look different and give us different cuts or different experiences with our food consumption. And then, of course, the frozen food distribution industry got involved, and they said, what about if we put crumbs around the fish? And we package it up and we sell it frozen, and we allow people to access it and make quick, easy meals for a rapidly busy lifestyle as it was increasing. And then, of course, the gourmet market got involved, and we not only looked at how we could harvest fish, but the entrepreneurial spirit said, what about if we harvest the eggs as well? We're a crazy lot, aren't we? It all started from the need to find a fish to feed our family. And then, of course, the wine industry got on board, and they made consuming fish sexy. And then the entrepreneurial recreational fishermen said, well, you know what about if we went out and we caught fish, not only to consume, but for pleasure as well? And then the publishing industry got involved, the entrepreneurs in that industry, and said, well, we'll make magazines and we'll provide information for people so that we could learn how to be better anglers. And then technology kicked in so that we were able to find, I'm not making this stuff up, right? This really happens. This is the entrepreneurial spirit at work. So then we started developing technology that would help us find the fish, so we didn't even have to work too hard anymore. Then we developed really sexy ways to attract our fish. And so not only were we having fun, but we were doing it in style. And then other ways for us to test and measure immediately, our results kicked in. And so it goes on. The home appliance market kicked in. They said, you know what, we will build a cooker just for fish. And you and I go and buy it. It's just a griller. But an entrepreneur came up with the idea that we will create a grill specifically for people to cook fish. And home decorations on Christmas trees. We started to look at all these different ways that we could repurpose fish. And then we got to the internet and we began gaming about catching a fish. Now, if this isn't bizarre enough, planet Earth entrepreneurs, we went one step further. We start putting our kids in costumes of fish. It gets worse. You and I buy this stuff. And then, of course, the home hobbyist aquarium, enjoying the experience of watching fish. So another whole industry was born. We found a use for the old Renk arena. Turn it into a fish tank. Why not? And then, of course, a whole fish supply industry was born. If that wasn't enough, the entrepreneurial spirit in the furniture industry said, let's make garden settings. And then it really started to get weird. This is the wonderful world of entrepreneurship. How to turn the basic idea of hunting for a fish to feed our family into a back-end view. I pity the view those fish have. But also remember that the original creator, the inspired thought from the entrepreneur, remember their spouse. The day the spouse of this unique contraption's creator, the day that spouse came home and was told over the dinner table, "Hun, I've come up with a crackerjack idea. They're going to love it." And so China went into mass production, because apparently we won't lose with fish swimming in them. This stuff exists because you and I go and buy it. That's what keeps the entrepreneurial spirit alive. And so it goes on. The tourism industry kicked in and went, you know what, if everyone else can make money off fish, so will we. We'll provide an experience. And the music industry said, you know what, we're going to put fish emblems on our guitars and make them sexy. Ed Hardy's even bought into the idea. He's putting fish on sunglasses. Jewellery, fashion. It doesn't stop. How about this? The wellness retreat industry gets involved and says, you know what, we'll dip people in ponds of fish and have them bite off the dead skin. Talk about repurposing. And of course, let's not forget the pharmaceutical industry. They weren't going to miss out. The entrepreneurs in that industry said, you know what, we'll take the oil, we'll turn it into a tablet. And these products exist because you and I buy them. The entrepreneurial spirit is alive because they create ways for us to experience how we live every day in our lives. And then technology kicks in, we go, we've got to find a way to put a fish in an iPod. Is that the most bizarre thing you've ever seen? It gets weirder. And you know what? If you can't cook, you just iPhone app it. Get the recipe right there to the dinner table. So you can see how a simple idea turns into goods and services that you and I consume, and how from a simple beginning, like finding fish to feed our family, has sparked entrepreneurial spirit and idea and vision to create billion-dollar industries that you and I fund every year. So what does that mean for you as entrepreneurs in this new economy? Well, when I was looking at this whole, what is the role of the entrepreneur, particularly in this new economy, particularly in the changing world that we live in, the fast-paced, rapid changing world that we live in. Chente, the curator of TED, and myself decided we would fly around Australia and speak to some of Australia's top entrepreneurs. And we'd find out from them what their ideas were, what their problems were, what their challenges were, what their mistakes were, and we looked at how we could help them. And in fact, many of those top entrepreneurs are in this room. In fact, 4 of our speakers today have been part of what we were looking at, the study that Chen and I conducted. There was Leela, Brett, you were in our masterminds, Jeff, Angus, they all took part in looking at how we could help each other as small business or enterprise or solo entrepreneurs, how we could position ourselves to be the creative force going forward in this new economy. Because none of us are about to go out and build big corporations. That's not what we want. In this day and age, we want lifestyle, we want time, we want money, we want it all. We don't want to live like entrepreneurs have lived in the old economy. So we listened to everything that they had to say. In fact, this room is occupied by a lot of the top entrepreneurs that attended our mastermind series to look at how can solo, small business and enterprise entrepreneurs lead the way in the new economy. Let me hear you if you're in this room. All right, excellent. So what we were able to do was bring together over the course of the touring that Chen and I did, all of these top entrepreneurs, and we were able to examine exactly how they would go after being collaborated or belonging to a collaboration that lasted a day. They got what they wanted from us and the rest of the group in that mastermind format. So you were able to present your idea or your challenge or whatever it is that you wanted to, and the rest of the group collaborated on how to move you forward with what it is that you were talking about. But what Chen and I also did is we looked at what was missing. And the biggest problem that the entrepreneur has is not the lack of idea or desire or opportunity, right? The biggest problem was support and continuity and relevance. So what we found was that people in these groups, as much as they wanted to help each other, because leaders are followers and followers are leaders, when they left the group, they were back in solo entrepreneur land with everyone around them, everyone around you telling you were crazy, right? When you came together in the like-minded, spirited environment of entrepreneurship, of course you were embraced. So we came up with this concept, and it's something I want to share with you now. The way we live changes when technology, collaboration and support are given to entrepreneurs. So we took what we learned from travelling around Australia and speaking with these top entrepreneurs, and we put it into a blueprint. And I created something called the collaboration circle model. And it's made up of you and 4 or 5 other entrepreneurs who you think you could work with. That's the initial premise. But the common point that binds the group And we took a group, and I've ran this and tested it out and compared it to the mastermind model that everyone's running as part of our old economy thinking. And what was needed in order for you to receive stabilised support and collaboration was that you needed to belong, and you need to be collaborating with people that have an interest in the same market as you and also share the same goals as you. So I brought together a group of six entrepreneurial Aussies, and they were based on that premise that they all operate in the same marketplace, so they all had a stake in the same environment, and they all have common goals for the betterment of that overall environment. But as single tribe leaders, they could never hope to achieve great things in their community and global marketplace. But when we brought them together, there was the power of now 6 people working cooperatively together and creating a vision for their global marketplace that they could begin to lead. And amazing things happened. What was highlighted through this process that we put these entrepreneurs into, the collaboration circle, was that having daily support, having someone that not only understood what your dreams and goals are, but share the same dreams and goals for the same marketplace so that you could impact together. And the power of 6 over the power of 1 can do so much more in such a much greater way in a collaboration. Then we created something called the Collaboration Lab. And so what we do is we focus 1 hour specifically on you, and we mastermind out that member and whatever it was that they needed to know to move forward to their next step, wherever they needed help with. And so what happened was that these members started to not only understand each other better, but appreciate each other better. So they started to share information about each other, particularly on the social engines, but also with technology now through blogging. Their blogging could be co-purposed. So they were able to spread each other's message because they belong to this collaboration. And the amazing thing that happened above everything for me to watch and for Chen to watch was this. The outcomes that they got, not in months and years of trying to do it on their own, but through collaboration, they were able to immediately work out where they could joint venture with each other. What could we bring to the table together that would be for the benefit of our joint common marketplace? They started to consult. They've done consultancies with each other because I've been able to find where I can help you specifically, or where they could help each other specifically in an area where the other member was weak in their business. And so they've actually had paid consultancies with each other. But the most remarkable thing that has happened for this group, the collaborative circle, is that other entrepreneurs have said, how do I get involved? How can I be part of what you're a part of? Because the energy of the collaboration of the 6 was so strong that that is the gravitational pull. You see, what happens in the old economy is all these people are trying to do it individually, and you're all trying to lead an independent tribe, and that's the hardest thing you'll ever do. When you create a collaboration circle, though, you bring unity to your marketplace, and the masses start to gravitate. And so they started to get phone calls. How do we get people involved? How can we be a part of what you're doing because we understand your greater purpose for your marketplace? And so going forward in the new economy, this is what is available to every one of you. An opportunity for you to do great things on a big scale and influence and impact your marketplace in a way that you may have thought was never possible because the models of the old economy said you had to be a big corporation. But the power of 6 independent entrepreneurs has turned that on its head. That's what's happening, that's what's coming, that's what people are doing. That's what I wanted to share with you today. My dream for you is that you have the opportunity to belong to a collaboration circle so that that circle can support you when you step up and shine. But more importantly, as part of that collaboration, you can elevate others and help them step up and shine. Thank you.